Hello and welcome to Wednesday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where today I suspect we've got a real challenge on our hands. The puzzle on the screen is called Read Between the Lines, and it's by the fantastic setter Tall Cat. This has a 100% approval rating on Logic Masters Germany, and I was just scanning the comments before I turned the webcam on, and they say things like, "This is a puzzle that belongs in the Sudoku Museum," and there was another comment that said something like, "What did I ever do to you?" or "What did my poor brain ever do to you?" Somewhat accusatory. I think that was from 2 to 10th. So this, yeah, I mean, we've had this recommended countless times since it first appeared, but I was warned by the testers I need to give myself a long lead time for this. This could be a very long video, but never mind. Hopefully it will be a long video full of beautiful logic. That's what I'm hoping for. Anyway, I'll read you the rules in just a second. There are a couple of things I want to mention first. If you enjoy our live streaming, tomorrow night is when we next plan to live stream Keep Talking and Nobody Gets Exploded or something. I can't remember the name of the game, but you know the one. It's the one we did last time and had a lot of fun with. So yeah, that's tomorrow night's adventure, hopefully. Yesterday on the channel we released a new YouTube short. Now this is the series of videos we're making. A YouTube short is a video that has to be less than 60 seconds long and has to be recorded in a certain aspect ratio as well, and we're trying to go through sort of various Sudoku techniques in in a very bite-sized way. And yeah, we did Y-wings yesterday. I'll try and remember to put a link to that video on the screen in case you're interested. And if you have any suggestions for what we should do for our next YouTube short, do drop us a comment on this video. And the only other thing I need to talk about is, of course, the pyramid puzzle hunt, which is going on over on Patreon as we speak, and we have had more correct entries in over the last 24 hours. So I want to say really well done to Ferdinand Stam, to Surab Dars, to Matthew Brockwell, and to Matt Boss. You have all successfully solved the hunt, and believe me, that is some achievement. And I have to say, we've been thrilled, and I know that Peter Venus, Aspartagus, and Panthera have also been absolutely delighted with the feedback. So if you do manage to solve the puzzles, or all of the puzzles, or even if you solve one or two of them and you think they're so great, do drop us an email so that we can let the setters know your feedback. And you know, they've really been thrilled to hear how delightful, I guess, some people have found the whole process of getting through this hunt. It is a big hunt. It's meant to take you till the end of Christmas. Unfortunately, we have some geniuses watching who also seem to have a lot of time and a lot of caffeine on their hands, and they have managed to get through it already. So fantastically well done to them. But yeah, do check it out if you haven't already. Now, that's all my news. Let's get on with the rules of this one. Now, there's quite a complicated rule set. I've read it through a couple of times. I think I understand what's going on, but be prepared. Here we go. Normal Sudoku rules apply. Circles represent one end of a between line. Circle digits give the length of the rest of the line, including line cells and the other endpoint. E.g., a 3 in a circle would indicate that there were 2 more line cells to come and the other endpoint cell. And we'll talk a bit more about that in a minute because I've got an example to show you. Other endpoints are not circled digits. Line digits must have a value between the 2 endpoint digits. So that's just normal between line rules. Line digits, no, I've just said that. Lines may only move orthogonally, cannot cross or share endpoints. All between lines have at least one line cell, and endpoints of the same between line may not be in orthogonally adjacent cells. So there's quite a lot of rules there, but actually I think if you're in any way familiar with between line logic, which is a form we've covered many times on the channel before, there shouldn't be anything there that's terribly surprising. And here is an example of what we have to do. So it's a sort of build your own puzzle type thing. So let's have a look at this. This is an example puzzle 6x6, and this is the solution to that puzzle. Hopefully that will fit. I'll just move it over slightly just in case the right hand side grid isn't fully visible. But if you, for example, we look at this 6, which is put into this cell here. Let's try and fill it in with a 6. You can see the between line that's built off that needs, we need, the 6 is telling us we need to put 6 more cells in the blue region. 5 cells which will be line cells, and then the other endpoint, which is this 1 here. And then all cells on the between line have to lie, the digits have to lie between the 6 and the 1. And you can see they do. 3, 4, 2, 3 and 5 are all between 1 and 6. So this 3 here, this one there, I'll try and do an arrow, is telling us that there are 3 more cells to come in the yellow region, 2 line cells therefore and 1 endpoint, so that would sort of have a circle. And then the cells on the line must lie between 3 and 6, so 4 and 5 are what we see on the line. So that's basically how it works. I don't know how I'm going to get on with solving it, but I'm about to find out. Do have a go yourselves. The way to play is to click the link under the video. Now I get to play. Let's get cracking. Now, my eyes are immediately drawn to this because, if I remember rightly, when we read the rules, it said something like circle, what did it say about other endpoints are not circle digits? So this region, which needs another 5 cells into it, is going to have to come down here because it can never touch another circled cell. So I think we can come at least to there immediately with this region. Now it needs to have another 5 cells on it, so 1, 2, 3. So it's going to have another cell which will be a line cell and then an endpoint cell. Right. Yeah, I can do this, can't I think? Because if it took another cell here, all of these 4 cells would have to be on the between line. None of these can be the endpoint line because we need to add 5 more cells to the line. So there would be 1 more cell somewhere, which would be the finishing cell and the other endpoint of the line. And these cells would all have to lie between whatever we put in the endpoint and 5. Well, the problem with 5 is it's too middling a number. So I could put, I don't know, I could try and put 2, 3 and 4 on here, but then I'd have to put a 1, and then the endpoint would have to be a 0, and that doesn't work. And if I go the other way, of course, I'll get exactly the same problem. I can put 6, 7 and 8 here, but if I put 9 on the line, I'll have to put 10 in the endpoint. And again, that won't work. So I think what we can say straight away is that this must come down. I mean, I guess the other thing we can say is what I'm about to say true? I think it is. That, yeah, whatever this digit is must repeat here, mustn't it? Because when you have a 5, or when you have a 4-cell line coming off a 5, yeah, there just are not 4 different digits either way, because 5 is so middling. So 6, 7 and 8 one way, yeah, it's the same point. 4, 3, 2 the other way. We're going to have a repeated digit. Now that means this digit here must appear in one of those 2 cells in box 1 and one of these 3 cells in box 7. I don't know really how. We'll just have to remember this, I think. I'm not very prepared to sort of colour that immediately because we're going to have to use colours for all of these different regions. And I might, in fact, am I going to run out of colours? Yeah, I'm definitely going to run out of colours. Oh dear, we're going to have a chromatic festival today. Never mind. Now, let me just think about this. Can we extend this one more? Because we need to. We've got 4 of its cells. We need 1 more cell. Oh, and it can't be a circle, can it? So it's got to be one of those 2 cells is the final cell of the purple region. And it will have to be a 1 or a 9, because we know that these 3 cells are all different, and they're on one side of 5 or the other. So they're either 2, 3, 4 or 6, 7, 8. So to frame those digits, we're going to need an extreme digit in one of those 2 positions. I feel like I should know, but I don't, I'm afraid. Right, let's carry on then. Let's think about whether we can build out some of the regions that have sort of been turned into cul-de-sacs by this 5 region. This region has got to come out, and this region's got to come out. And wasn't there something in the rules about you can't have all between lines have at least one line cell. Endpoints of the same between line may not be in orthogonally adjacent cells. Okay, yeah. So as this comes out, it could have a minimum of one cell on the between line, but it's still got to have an endpoint, which would still have to be there. So this one comes out at least to here. But this one could bend downwards, look. So that's a bit more annoying. If that one did come to here, then this one would be locked in, because it could. You can't have 2 circles in one of these regions. So that would force this square to be a 2, because it's got 2 more cells as well as the circled cell. Is there any reason this can't be? If this was a 2, this would have to be high. So this would have to be 6, 7, and 8. I'm not sure. This one has to grow a little bit, doesn't it? Let's move out there with red, perhaps. And this one we don't know about. We've got a 2 in this circle. So that's telling us that it's not actually telling us very much at all, in fact. It's telling us that it's going to come out and then either turn in a little dog leg, or it's going to continue. But it can do that in any direction, I think. This one is now blocked in, so that's got to get out. Okay, yeah, so that's everything we need to remember, I think. Every circle can't every circle can't contain a 1. Because if it did contain a 1, that would be saying that there was just one more cell, which would then have to be a sort of another circled cell, and there would be no between line. There would be no cell that operated as a between line. So that must be at least a 2. So it must take 2 more cells, and it must go to here at least. Now, what should we use for the... I can probably use orange there. I can sort of see. Or maybe grey would be a better distinct colour from purple. Now my purple. Right, where is my last purple cell now? It can't be there anymore because that had to be grey, so that's purple. And we know that that square is an extreme digit. This is a 1 or a 9. Now, what does that mean? I don't know is the answer, unsurprisingly. Is that telling me something profound? I don't think it is. I think... Oh, it's not... No, it's not geometry. This one? See, the problem with this one, or in fact all the other circles, the problem is that none of these circles seem in any way restrained to me at all. It's a strange puzzle because I actually felt quite hopeful as we started it because I could see I could build this 5 out, but now it feels like a total brick wall. There must be a way of telling whether or not this one maybe comes to here or not. So if this one turned here, no, there's no reason this has to be particularly large. This could finish here, and then this green region could go anywhere. Is that true? Can we put basically any number in a circle? You can't put 1 in a circle. Oh, you can't put 1 in a circle, can you? Ah, right, that's it. Right, now I see. Okay, where does 1 go in box 1? That is the question I should have immediately thought about, but I just didn't. You can't put 1 on a between line ever, because then you'd have to frame the 1 with a 0 or a 0, which is impossible. So you can't put 1 in those squares. You can't put 1 on top of a 5. You can't put 1 in a circled cell. These are both between line cells because we know that each of these can't be an endpoint because it's too close to its origin, if you like. So I think 1 in box 1 has to go here, and that's beautiful. That gets me a 9, and that tells me the nature of this 5, 9 line now. It must have 6s, 7s, and 8s on it. Ah, and now Sudoku of all things. Fancy making me do Sudoku already, Tallcat, you rotter. 9 is now in one of those cells, so one of these regions is enormous. In fact, one of these regions is enormous, because it's not... Yeah, because thinking about it, we're so used to, or at least I'm so used to thinking of a Sudoku region as never being greater than 9 cells large. But these between lines, whichever one of these is a 9, is a 10-cell between line. Well, 10-cell regions, regions may be the wrong word, but it's going to have 9 more cells to it. So altogether, if there was a 9 here, you'd get a green snake in the grid. I guess does it have to be a snake or not? Maybe it doesn't have to be a snake. No, it might not have to be. We have a green shape in the grid that would be 10 cells large because it needs 9 more cells than the circle cell. Now, let me think about this then. Which one of these is 9? That does seem to be the obvious question, although I'm just noticing now 9 has to be in one of those 3 cells as well. One might be restricted in this box. 1 can't be on a between line and can't be in... Yes, oh goodness me, I'm so slow at this. Where does 1 go in box 4? It can't go on a between line. Oh no, that could be an endpoint. Ah, no, that can't be an end. That's really interesting. That can't be an endpoint. Because if that's an endpoint of this line, this circle needs to be filled with a 2. Because it's got just 2 more cells that need to add on to create the line. And now those 2 squares, which would be the endpoints, need to have a digit between them. And you can't put 1.5 in a Sudoku, well, in this Sudoku grid anyway. So actually, I think my first instinct was right. You can't have 1 in a circle. You can't have 1 on either of those squares, so that is a 1. So now, aha! Now where does 1 go in box 7? It can't go in a circle, so it must go there. 1 in box 8. Looks like it's got 3 possibilities. But look at 1 in box 6. The 1s are really restricted in this puzzle because they can't go in circles. So 1s are in one of those 2 cells, 1s are in one of these 2 cells. 1s can't be in a circle. Is it? Yeah, actually, look, yeah, we can, again, if we really study box 2, we can do better. Where does 1 go in box 2? It's not in a circle. It can't be here, because that's too close to this circle. This would have to be an endpoint, and then there's no line on this red region. So it's not there either. It can't be here, because that, again, wherever you put 1 in one of these regions, it must axiomatically be the endpoint of that region. And again, we'd have to put 2 here now, and this would have to be a 1.5. So 1 is not in any of those cells. So 1 is in one of these 2 cells, and therefore 1 is not here. And we get the 1 in the top right-hand corner of the grid. 1 in the central box looks far more difficult, actually. So maybe that's not where we look next. Oh, 9. 9 in the middle box has to be in one of two places. Now, okay, so again, a bit like the 1, wherever a 9 appears in a coloured region, it will be an endpoint. So that means that the 2 here, you know, if this was a 9, we couldn't move the 2 through it, because then we'd have to put a 10 to frame the 9, and that's not going to work. Actually, that's not probably very useful. If we knew which one of these was 9, it would be useful, but we don't. So, how do we do this then? So if this was 9, this region would have to grow, and that would block in the blue region. In a way, it can't be right. This is really clever already. Good grief. Look, if this is a 9 here in this cell, this green region has to box this blue region in. Now, this can't be the end of the blue region, because that would require us to put a 1 in here, and that's not going to work. So the blue region would have to take another square, and we get this problem we've already found in various other places. You can't put a 1 here, because now this region, this circle, needs to be a 2, and we have to put 1.5 in there, which won't work. So actually, I think the 9 in box 1 is there in the blue region. Oh, hang on, I need to go back further, because this green region's too big. I think the green region we said had to come out to here at least. Well, now in fact that's the furthest it will be able to come out, because this is now a 9. That's not a 9. But how is this blue region going to grow? It can't come into the... Yeah, this is really cool. It can't come into this square, because it will end if it does, and it needs to take another 9 cells. So it needs to be a 10-cell region. So it's got to come there. Now look what this does. Now this can't be a 1, because this is not the required length yet, so that's not a 1. We've got to put a 1 in here. 1 moves out of this square. 1 in the central box is now in just one of 3 places. This region is now finished, and we can write this square in. That's a 2, because it's got 2 more cells in it. Although that's a bit unhelpful, because 2 here is not telling us very much about these cells. This just has to be higher than 2, and this, yeah, so what this is now a thermometer. Yeah, that's the way to think about this. This is a thermometer with a 2 in the bulb. Okay. I'm going to try and remember that. That's a thermometer. This 9 region can't have another circle in it, so that's got to go down. And this circle, surely that can't go into the 1, because the 1 would end it. No, so that's got to come down as well. Running out of colours a bit here. I'll use yellow for that one. So that forces the blue region down again. Now the blue region is definitely not got 10 cells in it, so that's no longer a 1. And whichever, well, the interesting point I can see here is that whichever way the blue region now goes, it's either going to go this way or this way. And in doing that, it will displace the 1. Because the 1 could not be on the blue line, at least not yet. Yeah, actually this is really clever. This is really clever setting, because where does the 9 go in box 5? Now, I think it always has to be here, because let's imagine the blue. Let's pick which way do we think the blue is going to go next. If it comes here, that cannot be a 1 now, because if it is, it's an endpoint, and this line is not of length 10. So the 1 would have to go here, displacing the possibility of this being a 9 and putting the 9 there. But if, on the other hand, this square is blue, again, now this can't be a 9 either, because that would be, well, it would create a very strange between line for one thing, but also the 9 would be an endpoint, and that just doesn't work. So that also forces the 9 to be here. So I think whatever way round we do it, that's a 9. So now the 2 can't come this way. Right. Yeah, okay. So I think we now know which way the 2 go, at least which way the 2 starts, I think we know. Because how could the 2 ever go north or west? If it does, it's displacing the position of a 1, just as the 9 was. And so, but what the 9 has to take one of these 2 cells. So if the 2 goes north or west, it will take the other. But neither can have a 1 in it, because even the 2 needs to have a longer snake than just a 2-cell snake. The 2 is going to add 2 cells to it, so it could do that or it could do that. So, but it can't end immediately, which it will have to do if it goes north. So if it goes there, let's just show you. If it goes there, now this blue has to go here, but neither of these squares is allowed to be a 1, because it will be an endpoint, and neither of these is yet finished, so it just breaks. So that tells us that this comes down here. I'm going to reuse green on the basis that green can never get down here. But again, a 2 in a circle is actually very unhelpful. Now, do we know, does this have to continue or can it turn? Is there a reason? No, no, again, we're just constructing a really short thermo, starting from a low digit. So actually a 2 in a circle is a very unappealing place to look for more logic, I think. Now, I was wondering about 9 in there, but I don't actually think that's very interesting. 2 and 5 are a little bit restricted in box 2, look. You can rule them out of that T pentomino by Sudoku. 2 and 5 are not the same as a 1 digit, so 2 and 5 have to be in 2 of those 3 squares. Okay, that doesn't seem to be terribly crucial, does it? Okay, what do we do now? I don't know is the answer. I want to extend this line somehow, but I don't really see, apart from the effect it'll have on the 1, which I think it can go that way, I think it can go that way. I'm not sure how we disambiguate those 2 possibilities. Do we know that this doesn't take the 1? Yeah, we do, don't we? If this turned down, it would be of the side. We'd have to put 2 in the circle, and we can't for many reasons. Firstly, you can't put 1.5 here. Secondly, there are 2's already looking at it, so that needs to take another cell, I think. So this is at least a 3. So it still needs to go further actually. Okay. Gosh, I've just looked at the time. How can I have had half an hour in this video? Honestly, that feels like 5 minutes. I get totally lost in these puzzles. And time just flies by. Oh, goodness me. Come on, Simon. You haven't done anything yet. I don't know how to do it. That one can't go there, can it? Because then it's too small. So this one now is forced out. And that's going to give us a 9 in box 7. Yeah, okay, let's look at this square. I'm going to label this red because I don't think that red and this red are going to touch one another unless there's some very peculiarly long snakeage going on in the grid. So how does this move? Well, it can't come here or it will end too quickly, so it has to go down. Now, again, yeah, we have this same thing again. You can't, if this goes into the 1 here, that needs to be a 2 and you need to put 1.5 here, which doesn't work. So it must come out again, which means this square is not possible to be a 9 anymore. That places the 9, ooh, 9 in a circle down here. So this bottom left region is an enormous snake. So it doesn't go into the 1, so it must come out to there. Now, what's going to be a safe colour to use here? The answer is, I don't know. It rather depends on how some of these other ones move. I haven't used orange yet. I can use orange. Okay, good. Okay. Now, what, if anything, do we know about 9? It's got to be in one of 3 places in box 8. I'm sort of wondering about how this gets out. It definitely can't come out along the bottom row because it'll run into a 1 too quickly. Although I say that, and maybe there's nothing wrong with those sorts of patterns. Yeah, because this could end on a 1. That would be fine. If it ends on a 1, having had enough cells in the meantime, that would be fine. So, wow, I have not got a clue where to look here. Is that the point about this line? If this line's got a 2 on it, it must end in a 1. But it looks like it could sort of end on that one perhaps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, it needs to be 10 long, doesn't it? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That looks tricky to get to that one. Or maybe it can just come down the grid, although that might pen that one in. Or it could come this way and maybe end on one of those 2. Or even that one. This one might be a bit far away. But that's all predicated on there being a 2 on the between line, which there might not be. If the 2's there would be a 5 on the between line, and that's much less helpful. Oh, okay. Well, box 1, that's a 6, 7, 8 triple, isn't it? So there's a 3 and a 4 into those squares. Yeah, okay, here we go. Here we go. 4 is very restricted in box 4. Serendipitously enough, look, 4 has got to be in one of those. It's got to be in a circle. Now, do we know which circle it's got to be in? I don't know. 3, I don't think is nearly as restricted. It's in this tetromino here because of the 3 up there, but that doesn't seem to be quite as useful. 2. Oh no, I was about to say you can't put 2 in a circle, but of course you can put 2 in a circle, can't you? You can put 2 in a circle, providing that the circle or the other end of the line is not a 1. So 2, yeah, okay. So 2 can be in 3 positions in box 4. If that's a 4, what does that line have to do? That looks difficult because it can't go downwards now. If this is a 4, I mean, this could be, well, I'm not sure this can be the endpoint of the line. I need to put 4 more cells onto this line. So 3 cells on the between line and 1 endpoint. Well, there aren't three. Yeah, there aren't 3 different digits below 4 that we could use. That's just nonsense. So we have to go higher, and that's going to mean is that a problem or not? That feels like that's getting awfully difficult, because then these squares have to be 5s, 6s, 7s, and 8s. They couldn't be 9. In fact, yeah, okay, if this is 4, that definitely has to be a grey cell. Now, how does this work? Is that a problem or not? I sort of desperately want it to be a problem. So these have to then be higher than 4. Let's just label them up. They therefore have to be 5, 6. So now you can see in this box, this has to be a 1, 2, 3 triple. Oh, and that has to be a 3, and that has to be a 2. Now, what's wrong with that, if anything? That feels like it. That feels tricky, but maybe not impossible. That would force this square to be the... Yeah, okay, well, that's a mildly interesting point, if this is a 4. Is because this is a 2-3 pair, neither of these squares could be on the grey line anymore, because we know we've got to go to a high digit. So this would have to be... Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, I've spotted it. I spotted the problem. It's these ones again in box 5. So it's quite complicated, but if this is a 4, because the nature of the line has to be high digits, you can't come to this square. So this is the final cell of the 4 region. Now, can this be a 1 is the question we need to appreciate. The answer is, of course, no, because if it's a 1, these have to be low digits. So this is not possible to be a 1, which makes this a 1, and now the blue region is penned in. It can't get out. It needs to be much, much longer than stopping where it is at the moment. So this doesn't work. This doesn't work. Now, how do I go back to when I was thinking about whether this worked or not? I just get... Right, so if this is not a 4... This is a 4. So now the 2 is just locked into one of 2 places. This one I want to say this has got to be high digits as well. Is that true? The answer's probably has to be high digits. If it's low digits, again, we'd have to go... No, there aren't enough, again, because this has to extend 2 more, and it's going to have 3 digits in box 7, all on the line, and there aren't 3 digits below 4, so that's nonsense. So this while this is a 4, these squares are high digits. Five, 6, 7s, and 8s. Is that the limit of it, or can I keep going with that? Oh, right. Now I'm quite interested in this column. That can't be a 5. Where do the low digits that we have not placed yet go in column 1? They have to be they have to be there. Now surely, said I, surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind and nothing more. 3. Yeah, if this goes 3, 2, it breaks, doesn't it? Because again, I've not got enough digits left. I'd have to go 3, 2, 1.5 or something like that before I get to the 1. That's nonsense. So it has to go 2, 3. This is the final point of the grey dogleg. Oh, okay, and this is a little thermo again. So this is the end, but it's not restricted. 3, 4 are now a pair at the bottom of column 2. That's really beautiful, because that pen's in the red region now, which can't come to here because we're looking for higher digits than 3 or 4. So this one's got to come to there. And probably it will end here with the 9 that we've got in box 8. Look, that would look quite natural. Although that would... No, it wouldn't. I was about to say that would give this a problem to get out. But no, I think this could... It can't run along the bottom row, so it could do either that or that and get out. So that's probably... I'm just wondering if we can at least force... Surely that digit... Yes. How is this cell not orange? That's a good question. Let's make it black for a moment, like it's a wall. How can this now get the required numbers of cells it needs? You can see the only way it can get out of the little cul-de-sac it's in is if it takes those 3 squares, which it can't do, because one of these 2 squares is a 1 and will end the line. So that doesn't work. This does have to be orange. Okay, and that means that can't be a 9, I suppose, because if it's a 9, we can't. It would be an endpoint, and it would be the same as its other endpoint. And then I'm not sure what you'd fill the between line in with, but it wouldn't be a very sensible thing. So that's not 9. So 9 is now up there. So 9 is now in one of 2 places in box 9. And we can... I don't know what we can do, but it's all getting... It's getting a little bit cluttered on the left side of the grid. So we must be able to do something else over here, I think. How many 1s have I got? I've got 6. Oh, I see, and I've pencil marked everything else that's possible. What about 9s? Oh, 9s are much less. Oh, 9 in this box up here. Oh no, this is a thermo, so that can be a 9. You can't put... Oh, hang on, you can't put a 9... You can't put a 9 on the blue line, though. And I can't put a 9... Yes, oh, good grief. Where does 9 go in box 2? It can't go here, because the yellow region will end too quickly. And it can't go on a blue line, or the blue line should have ended as well. So it's in one of 2 places. Which means that... Oh, no, it's not useful. Sorry, I was hoping it was going to be useful. 9 is in one of 2 places in box 3. Can we force the direction of this one? This one's got to take a lot more digits. It's definitely got a 3 or a 4 on it, so it has a relatively low digit on it. That means that its final digit must be a maximum of 3. Because if its final digit, if its endpoint was a 4, this square could never be on the between line. So does that mean it can't end in box... No, it... I was just wondering if I could say that it couldn't possibly end in box 4. But it could end in that square only in box 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hang on, let me just think about this. It's got to take 9 more cells, so it's a 10-cell blue region. It's got 5 cells in it already. So to finish on this square, it has to take every cell in that pentomino. That's the only way we can draw a line that finishes here. And I don't think you can actually draw a line. Actually, I know what I could do. I could use the drawing tool. Hang on, let me see if that works. You have to click the cogwheel, enable pen tool. Is this going to work? It might do. What I'm thinking... Oh, hang on. Let me see if it'll... Yeah, look, we can draw. Now, if I come down here, What I'm trying to do is to draw a 10-cell line that ends on this square. And I just don't think you can do it, because you'll wiggle and then you'll have the wrong, it's like the wrong polarity. You just can't do it, can you? You can do that, but that's not going to be the required length. That's only of length 9. So that is interesting. Because what we can say, I think, what we can say now is that this blue region just cannot end in box 4. Because if it ends in any other white cell in box 4, that cell will be a 5 or a 6 or higher. And that will make this cell impossible to be on the between line. So if the blue region doesn't turn right through this little junction, it has to take 10 cells, which is now getting very difficult indeed, because what it can't do is take both of these squares, because one of them is a 9, and that will be an endpoint on the line and will make the between line framed by 9s. So that means, I think we're getting somewhere here. That means, oh bother, I think there's one way I can see this might work, something like that. I think that's the only 10-cell line you can draw. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That doesn't hit. Now the 9 would have to go there. This region has got terribly... No, this doesn't work. This doesn't work. It's really very... It's very beautiful the way this gets penned in. Let me show you. So if we do hypothesize that the 9 region here does come through this cell, there is only one way we can draw 10 cells. And that's the way that I've got this depicted here. Now this square cannot be a 9, so we have to put a 9 there. And we've got to extend our 4 region here. Well, so where are we going to extend this to? This needs to take high digits, so it's going to have to take that square. And now my orange region at the bottom has a big problem. In fact, a terminal problem. Because I can do those two, no problem, and connect it to this one. But how can I get this region out now? It needs lots and lots more cells. It can't hit the 9. It can't hit the circle. So you can see it's going to have to take this square, and now one of these two squares is a 1, and we'll end it. It will end there. That's as far as it can go. So this is absolutely perfect, because this means we can get rid of this line. It is not possible. So that means that this blue region cannot come through this cell. And if it can't come through this cell, it must come through this cell, which means this square is not a 1. It means this square is a 1. It's got to carry on, because it's not of size 10 yet. That one can't be a 2-cell region, so that must turn. Does that have to go further than that? Oh, no, there was something in the rules that said something like you can't end a region next to the region or next to the cell. Hang on a minute, let me just read the rules again. All between lines have at least one line cell. Endpoints of the same between line may not be in orthogonally adjacent cells. Yeah, okay, so we know that this is bigger than 2 because there's a 2 here. So it's got to take another cell. If it took that cell, it would be an endpoint, and that would finish the line. So that must be also yellow. Oh, okay, and that could be a 9, look. And then it would end. That's fine. But the blue line can't come to this square because that would end it on another 9. So the blue square comes across again. The 1 here means we get a 1 here by Sudoku. Now, is this the ending of this line then? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, No, it's not. It's the wrong length. So this doesn't come to this one. So it must turn down again. And now it... That is absolutely beautiful, Toolcat. If that is what I'm meant to be thinking now, I absolutely love that, because check this out. The next cell of this blue line is its final cell. Well, it can't be a 1. But if it can't be a 1, how could we put a 2 on the line? You can't put a 2 on the line. Because if you put a 2 on the line, you need to frame it with a 1, which is now impossible. So now we can rule out 2 from those squares and put 2 here. Which means... I'm really worried I've broken the puzzle here, because now I'm going to apply the same logic to this line, which now has a 2 on it. Therefore, one of its endpoints must be a 1. Well, it can't be that. And it can't be that because we can't have a region that starts here that ends in the adjacent cell. So this... Oh, it could pick... Oh, right, okay. So it could pick this one up, although, hang on, what's going on with the 9s now? Oh, I'm getting confused. Well, this square clearly is not a 1. So that's definitely not where the yellow line ends. So that cannot therefore be a 9. That places 9 in box 3. But now the yellow line can't ever come to this square. So it can only get this. So I think this top right hand corner of the grid is yellow. That is what I am alleging. I cannot see how this line could have a 1 as an endpoint if it's not this cell here. So it must take that cell and that cell. Now this is getting boxed in. Yeah, oh yeah, but this can't be a 2. Because if it's a 2, it would clash here. So this must be at least a 3. And therefore it must be a 3. This is just, I mean, it's amazing. This is an amazing setting. Now that 3 gives us Sudoku stuff to think about. That's a 3 and that's a 4. So now there's a 3 in one of those 2 cells. The yellow region now is forced. Now I suppose we know the length of this. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think we put 7 in this square. This must operate like... No, this doesn't have to operate like a thermo because these 2 digits could be in either order. Oh, but one thing we can do, I think, is put 9 into this box. That square's got to be the 9 because you can't put 9 on the between line. Oh, in fact, there's a 9 here anyway. Oh, and this 9, it gives us a 9 down here. And this 9 gives us a 9 down there. Hang on. So we've now done a digit. We've done all the 9s. We've nearly done all the 1s. We have now done all the 1s as well. That's not a 7 by Sudoku. So 7 is in one of these 2 cells, and 7... Oh, in fact, oh, I see how it works. Look at the top row of the grid. We haven't yet put 6, 7, and 8 in, so we've got to put 6, 7, and 8 in. Now, the 8 must be the extreme digit. Otherwise, we're not framing the 8. So the 8 must go here. Now the 7 must go here by Sudoku, and that's a 6, and the top line is done. Now these squares have got to be 4, 5, and 8. And we can't put 8 on this line. Or actually, yeah, this square's a naked single. It can't be 8 because everything on this between line needs to lie between 1 and 7, and 8 doesn't. And it can't be 5 by Sudoku, so that's a 4. This is a 5, 8 pair. So 5 is in one of those 2 cells in box 5. 8, Oh, I was about to get excited about 8, but in fact, look at column 5. We've got a 6-8 pair left to place. Oh, I nearly made a mistake then as well. I was about to say, and we've already got an 8 in the blue region, but of course, this is not like a killer Sudoku region. This is a region that... Oh, I've just spotted something else. But it's a region that can have a repeated digit on it, as we know from the 5 region at the start. But now we should ask a question about the blue region, which is, it has a 3 on it. So what is the digit that is the endpoint of the blue region? It's a 2. Well, it can't be here then, because that's a 2 there. So that square's got to be the end of the blue region, and it's got to be a 2. And now this should be of length 10 and is 2. Oh, okay, that's not actually... I thought that might give us more digits, but I don't think it has. Good grief. Now we shall... what's going to happen to this circle now? That circle is not a 1 or a 2, so this is at least a 3. So the size of the overall line here is 4 cells at least, so it can't go up because it'll hit an endpoint too quickly, and it can't go left, so it must come down, and that's too quick, so it must come down and come out. Let's make this red. This is at least a 3, so it must come down again. And then perhaps it could actually go back on itself. So if it did that, no, it would then be... No, hang on, I'm getting confused. No, in fact, it could stop now, couldn't it? Yeah, if it did that, in fact, it doesn't take this square. That's something we can expressly state. Because if it did take this square, this would be a 4. Because the 9 would be the end point. Holy moly. Right, okay, so what on earth do we do next? The next task is going to be to pencil mark 8s down here, maybe? No. Well, yes, we will do that, but now I'm wondering about this region. Because this region has to have a lot of cells in it. But now, with the position of the 1 and the 9 in box 8, how does this get to the... It can never take this square. That's far too soon for it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6... No, I mean, it's just impossible. Even if you do something like that. I mean, that's only 7 cells. It needs to be a 10-cell region. So this square is not orange. That square is not orange because it's a 9. And if we take this square, that would have to be its final cell because... Well, it wouldn't have to be its final cell, but it could only come down from there. Because it couldn't go up and it couldn't go into the circle. Actually, so maybe that's what it does. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, it doesn't. That's not enough. That's not enough. So, okay, so this doesn't interfere at all with those 3 cells. So it's got to come up through here, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, it does. It's got to come through that little gap there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's still got to have one more cell. It's probably this one to end it. Can we do... Oh, I've still got to add 1 to this region as well. Oh, I thought this one was going to poke out and hit a 9 here. That's been kiboshed. Hang on a sec. I'm getting stuck now. It's been funny though, and I think this is a testament to the puzzle. I haven't had to sit here for 20 minutes not doing anything. I have made progress slowly from time to time. It's just there's so much logic here. It just takes a lot of time to work through. Do we... I was wondering whether I can deduce something about the yellow cells in box 3. They've obviously got to be between 1 and 7. So these cells here have got to be 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s and 6s. But unfortunately, I don't think that's useful. Those can't be 3s. That can't be a 2. No, I'm not sure about that. That doesn't look very fruitful. Oh no. Okay, so what on earth do I do now? So if this... So maybe I've got to get a better count on this 9 region. How do we do that? What are the options for this 9 region shape? It could, I think, and I think this is probably what it does do, it could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and that would be perfect. And that would force the red region to come up to here. That would have to probably be an 8, and that would probably have to be 5, 6, 7. Two is a bit restricted actually. 2's got to be in one of those squares. Do we know that this line ends in a 1? Or is it the same point as we had with the blue line? And whether it can end in this, hang on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, I think it's the same point again. I'm not certain about this, but I think this is on the sort of wrong bishop square for this to end on this cell. Let's just try that again. If it's ending on this cell, those 2 squares would have to be orange. There's no other way of doing it. So you'd have 5 cells here, 6, 7 here, and I need to connect to this in exactly 3 more. It just doesn't work. The count doesn't work. However I wiggle the line, I'm never going to be in the right place. So this orange one doesn't end on this square. But okay, so if it doesn't end on this square, and these squares cannot be 2s, 3s or 4s, it doesn't end in box 4. It's a similar logic, I think. So I think that this orange region ends in this square, but I think the way it gets to this square might have optionality, because what we could perhaps do, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, yes you can. You can wiggle the line at the top and go like that, or you can wiggle it at the bottom and go straight up. Ah, you rotten thing. Oh, I was just wondering if we could use this one somehow to determine which way this goes. I'm not sure you can. So let's just see what cells we can definitely make orange then. If we don't use box 4, we have to use those cells. And if we do use box 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But we could do that as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh no, you couldn't do it. No, that last one was wrong. I can't take both of those squares, can I? That is impossible. So hang on, let me just think about this. Sorry for being so slow. Yeah, so I can't. So if I want to wiggle here, I have to take those 2. And if I don't want to wiggle there, I have to take those. So these are always yellow. Sorry, orange. These are always orange. But I don't actually think that matters. Oh, I've got a 2 here. I've just noticed that. So that's not a 2. We knew that wasn't a 2 anyway. I don't think that does anything to the logic we were just thinking about. No, I think we're almost at the point now where we're getting properly stuck. Do we know anything about the nature of this square then? Because this one is a bit penned in. There's no way it can be an 8. There's simply no way it can be an 8. I won't take the 8 out until I've just justified that, but I can't see how it could be an 8. It could go... what can it do? It can't be... It's got to be at least a 3. So it's got to be a 4-cell snake or longer. That's very difficult, given that it cannot hit a 1 or a 9, therefore, in its first 4 cells. So it can't go left, or its next cell will be a 1 or a 9. It can't ever go right, so it's got to go up or down. If it goes down, it can't go left. And if it... Ah, yeah, and it can't end in the cell adjacent to it, so it just can't go down. It's impossible, because the only way you get to a count of another 3 cells in it is to do that. And they would end in adjacent cells. So I think it must just go up. It just goes, it's a straight line going up. Okay, and we can get this digit, which is, I think this is probably what we've been missing. So that is a 3. Therefore that's a 4, and that's a 3. There's a 3 in one of these 2 cells by Sudoku. The green region needs another cell, so that takes the 9, look. But but he says, I still don't understand how we're going to resolve what's going on in this box and this bottom region here. So do we now... I'd love to know whether this wiggles or not. What could we do to determine that? What sort of logic is available to us to determine the shape? It's probably Sudoku somehow, isn't it? I just can't see how to do it. What about 4 in the central box? That's got to be in one of 2 places. That doesn't look useful. 4, 4, 9, 9, 2. Let's double click 2s and see if we can see any more from those. No. Ah, there's a... No, it's not useful. There's a 2 in one of these 3 cells, which of course means that the orange line has to end in a 1. We already know it ends in a 1, because there's not enough room for it to end on anything else. This is really strange. It's strange that I'm not having any good ideas about how I... Oh, is it to do with this 9 actually? No, it's not. I can still end this red region on an 8. It's probably something to do with 8's position on this red line and whether it can be here or not that will determine how this all gets fixed. I'm a bit ashamed of myself that I just can't visualize how to do it though. So if you're getting cross with me, I promise I'm not being slow deliberately. Now, okay, so where should we look next? Let's have an excursion over to the other side of the grid, perhaps. We've still got this circle to think about. I don't know how we're going to do that. If we could rule... If we knew something about 2s, maybe that would be useful. Is there something we can do with 2s? I'm seeing I've got 1 and 3 in this row. So this if it couldn't be a 2 would have to be a relatively large number. And that's got to be, that's not 1, 2. This could, well, at the moment it is 3. If it's more than 3, it has to come down here. So if that was a 5, This would have to, no, it couldn't be a 5 because it's going low and it would run out of digits very quickly. So if that's a 6, that also looks very tricky to me. Let me just think about that for a second. If this is a 6, it's going down again, so this would have to be a 3-5 pair. 6, 3, 5, but we've still got to keep going down here. Is that going to work? We'd have to have 6 more cells, so I've got to have 2 more line cells in this region and then an endpoint. Feels very difficult, that. It feels very difficult. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it does feel... I suppose the 4 could repeat here and give me some flexibility. No, okay, right, so we're going to have to look for something else. Gosh, I'm now just 1 hour, 11 minutes into this. Good grief. Okay, so maybe the thing we need to do is to audit what we've done and think about whether or not we've sort of missed anything obvious. We've got the 7 region here. 4 has to be in these 2 squares. That doesn't seem to do anything. I will just pencil mark it though. Can that be a 2? No, 2 has to be in one of 2 cells in box 3 as well. Not spotting what that does to the world though. That just has to be a higher digit than 3, so this is not a useful digit. 1, 3, 4, 9 here all go into little 2 by 2 in the corner. That makes sense. This square's got to be a high digit. 5, 6, 7. I don't think it... Oh, right. Oh, maybe that's it. Can you put... Maybe the point is you can't put 8 in here anymore. Because if you put 8 in here, you have to end this in 9. Either there or there. Neither of those is possible. So... Good grief. Wow. Okay, well, I don't know how useful that is, but that does give me a 5, 6, 7 triple here. So now those 2 squares are a 2, 8 pair. Oh, this is ridiculously clever. I'm just lost in admiration for things like this, and I know it's taken me a while to spot it, and I apologise, but you know, I'm looking all over the grid trying to find some logic. But look at this. This now definitely has 5, 6, 7 on its line, so it ends in 8. Well, that 8 used to be able to be here, but there's a 2, 8 pair in the column now, so it can't be there, so it must be here. So that's 8, that's 2. That's not 2 anymore. That's going to affect that circle probably. That's got to be the 8 that this red region ends in. And now I understand how the orange line moves. It must wiggle this way in order to get to the right count. Let's actually show that, how it's going to move. It's got to move like that in order to be hopefully of size 10, and yes, it is of size 10 now. I can see that by adding 2 pentominoes together. It's an L pentomino and a P pentomino. Now, has that done something for us that's really profoundly important? I don't know is the answer. But I do sort of think that it's going to be something like that is critical. I tell you what is interesting now. I can ask where 8 goes in row 6, I think, because it's not there because of the 8 we've just put in. It's not there because of 8 here. It's not here. There's already an 8 in box 5 already. And it's not here because of the 8 at the top of the grid. So I think that is an 8, which means that's a 6. And yes, if you're saying that's completely useless, you're probably right, but at least it's another digit. At least it's another digit, even though that digit is proving a little underwhelming. Okay, what about this row then? We have got lots of stuff in this row now. We just need 2s, 6s and 7s. So these squares have got to be 2s, 6s and 7s. And I don't think there doesn't seem to be much restriction on them. Oh, I know that, well, the 5, 6, 7 here, is that going to stop this digit being one of the options I was thinking about for this red region to come dipping down into box 9? I'm not sure actually. This square here has to be a relatively low number, I think. 2, 3 or 4. It can't be 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9. So that's 2, 3 or 4. So if the red, well, we already know if the red region is containing low digits. So if this is a 6, that doesn't affect that conclusion. Right, but this digit now has to be a relatively large, well, relatively large. It's got to be at least 4. It's 4, 5, 6 or 7. Surely it can't be a 7. Let me just think about this. So if it comes this way, yeah, how does it ever take this digit? That's a good question. If it takes this digit, it's definitely not a size 2. This is not a 2, so it doesn't come up to the 9. So it would have to chase across here, at which point it will hit the 1 at its longest length. But that's still not long enough. That is only, this would have to be a 3 for that region to be possible. And it's not a 3, so it never takes this square. So this digit here, which I will christen yellow, is entirely confined, well, this region is entirely confined to this box. It can never take this square. It can take one of these two squares only. So that only leaves it those squares to benefit from, which means this can't be a 7, because if it's a 7, it's only got 6 cells it could possibly take outside of itself. So it's down to 4, 5 or 6. Now, let me just think about that. Oh, does that have... No, not quite. I was wondering about 7s, actually. 7. Just wondering about these two digits. I'm trying to work out if this goes up or down after we decide what it is. If that's a 6, it has to go down. And it has to go down to the digit 1, and it would have to take all of these digits. But that's not possible because one of these digits is a 6 or a 7, so it's not 6. If this digit's a 5, it's either got to go, it's either got to go 2, 3, 4, 1. How is it going to do that? How is it going to do that? If that's 5, that can't be a 2, 3 or a 4. So it has to go up. And then it can't go there, so it has to go up, and then it has to go there, which is wrong. And it can't, can it go, if it's a 5, can it go 6, 7, 8, 9? What about if that's 8? 5, 8, 6, 7, 9. Is that really possible? The answer is, oh no, it's not the right length, is it? Although the between line works. Oh, that's it. Oh, of course. No, of course, you can never have a 5 here. You can never have a 5 here because you need, if it's a peculiarity of the way this between line rule works. If you have a 5 there, what you're saying is you've got 4 cells on the between line. But we know in this, because we've locked this into box 9, all of those 4 between line cells have to be selected from one box. They must be different digits, and there aren't 4 different digits either side of 5. It's not possible. That's a 4. Gosh, that took me a long time as well. Sorry, but that's true. I think I feel very when I finally saw it, it felt like exactly the right thought to have. So this is a 4, and that means that's a 4 by Sudoku. And now we must be close to a finish, he says. Although actually looking at the grid, I've probably only done half of it. So if this is a 4, it's going to have 3 cells. And then something. So it could, maybe it can get outside the box and like that. Or maybe it can go... I don't know actually. Now I'm trying to think about what it can and can't do. It could... I mean, can it do something like that? Perhaps it can. I don't know. I'm not sure I know what this does. We may well have to think about that harder as well. But 4 now has to be in one of those 2 cells. This 4, we got this 4. Is that really helpful? I don't think it is. 1, 2, 3 is in one of those cells. Is there some way we can... Do we know what this is now then? I'm really battling with this. It really isn't easy. I don't think it's easy. I really don't. I mean, if you've flown through this, congratulations. You're a better man than me, Gunga Din. Okay. I'm just not sure where to look. That's part of the problem. I don't know what the weak cell is that I'm meant to be focusing on. This one is, I just don't think there's any restriction on the nature of the line. There might be a Sudoku type restriction, but I don't think there's any more than that. If this is not a, at the moment it could be a 3. If it's not a 3, it has to be at least a 5, because it can't be a 4. If it's a 5, it's got to drop down here, which is no longer, that's no longer able to be a 4, so it can't do that, because it would need, because of this logic we've just been talking about, that's not going to work. If that's a 5, 4, there's just no way. 4, 3, 2 is actually impossible anyway because of this 2 here, but this would have to be a repeated 4, which is impossible. Now if it goes even higher than that, it can't be 6, surely it can't be 7. This is getting into the realms of nonsense now. If it's a 7 and dropping down, then down in this region, let's just try and disprove it from being a 7. It's got 7 or 8 as a possibility to get rid of. So this would have to have 7 more cells. So it's got to take that square, and it can't run into the 1 or the 9. It's got to have 3 more cells now, and there's not going to be enough room for the 4 at all. So okay, that just doesn't work, and therefore, whoopsie, I don't want to do that. This square here, I think we can now say with certainty is a 3, and that means that's a 3. Does that do something for us? Ah, that means that's a 3. Ah, maybe this is what we were lacking. 3s now. Oh, good grief. Yeah, we've done loads. We've done all the 3s in the puzzle. Whoops. Okay, well, that's something. Now 7, look, has to be in this domino in box 6, which means that's no longer a 7. 4, 2. I sort of feel like this this is going to take high digits now, because I can't see how it's going to have. It can't have, no, it can't have low digits. Of course it can't, Simon. Will you wake up? Because it's staying within its box. So if it's taking lower digits, it has to take 2, 3, and 1, and then 1 would be the endpoint, and it won't work. It won't be long enough. So it is taking higher digits. So it never comes to this square. We know it doesn't come to this square. How would it end on this square now? If it's taking 4, it can't. It's the wrong bishop's move away from itself. It's impossible, because you can make it. It's got to be overall a 5-length line. Oh no, it could, like that perhaps. Oh, Simon. Yeah, sorry, it can do that. In fact, it probably does do that. So it could do that. It could do that perhaps, or it could do that. We don't know. Okay, so it must now, I think, be a case of doing some Sudoku. 4s, 5s, and 7s into these squares. Let's try and do some Sudoku and finish this off. 4, 5, and 7. That's not a 4. That's not a 5, actually. This square is a 5 or an 8 only. Just by Sudoku, it sees 4 and 7 in the column. So it looks like we've got a problem here, but that's not a problem in this particular puzzle. Okay, let's have a look at this row. We need 5, 6s, and 7s into this square, and we need 5, 6s, and 7s into that square. Oh, and I see we've actually got loads of stuff in this. So that's 5, 6, 7, or 8. 5, 6, 7, 5, 6, 7. 5, 6, 7. This column perhaps, 5, 6, and 8 to place. Nothing is working here. 5, 6, 7, or 8 here. Oh, that's not 8, so that is 5, 6, or 7. So the 8 in this column is in one of those two cells. So that is not an 8. So now I know 8 is in one of these two cells. My phone is buzzing at me. That's just Mark, probably ringing to see how I got on with this puzzle. So this square here is a 5 or a 6 only. 7 is definitely in this domino. Oh, right back at the start we noted that this had to have a repeat here, didn't we? But that still looks like all options are on the table. Could even be in either of those two cells. So that, again, that doesn't look like it's good enough, to me at least. So what is disambiguating the puzzle? It must be what? Come on, Simon. This is one of the longest Sudoku videos we've ever done. 1 hour 30 minutes now, and I'm still far from finished. Funny noise outside the house. All the distractions going on. What about this column? Maybe this is where we need to look. 2, 4, 6, and 7. Ah, so that square there is just 2 or 4 because it sees 6 and 7 in the row. And that square is 4. Oh no, that square is 6 or 7. Is that it? No. I mean, it's a useful thing, but it still doesn't resolve it. 2, 4. 2. I don't believe it. 2 here. Maybe this row where we need 2, 4, and 8. So that's just 4 or 8. Ah, and that's just 2 or 8. This must matter somehow that I can't see. Oh dear, dear, dear. Why does this matter then? Is this somehow telling me the shape of this region? We've got to remember this is going high, isn't it? So, and we know it's not coming to this square. But I don't see why it can't do that. I really don't. Or indeed that. That would be 8, that would be 6, 7, that could be any number of things. 5, I suppose, is in one of two places in box 9. And no, still don't know. Come on, Simon. What are we missing here? I sort of want to get rid of all the colour in case it helps me to see the Sudoku, but I don't think that's a good idea. Not really. Okay, in this box, 8 is definitely in one of those squares. That's definitely not an 8. So this is a 6 or a 7. 8's in one of these two squares. 8's in... Oh, no, that's an X-wing on 8s, but it's a useless X-wing on 8s. 6, 7, 8, 5, 6, 7 there. Many of you ask if we can show blooper videos. Well, this is probably, if I can get through this, this is the sort of thing you sometimes get. Literally, Mark and I just sitting staring at the screen and not knowing what to do and not quite. You know, I don't want to abandon this because it's been so beautiful to this point, but I'm very much aware that I must be testing everybody's patience sorely, especially if I'm just missing some simple deduction that's making you all frustrated. What is it then? We got an 8 here. We know there's an 8 in one of these two squares. This is done with 5, 6, 7. Oh, what about that? Yes, I know what. It's this, isn't it? That's what it is. I've got to make sure this line works. Yes, it is this. One of these is a 7. I can't put 7 here, or this can't be higher. Oh, you have been shouting at me. I'm so sorry. Okay, it's fine once you focus on the right thing. That 7 is lovely. That gets me a 5 here. Now this is a 6. And is this the key? Is it? Maybe. I'm not sure. I definitely feel that's... yeah, that's got me a 5 out of that square. So I've now got a 4, 7. Aha! Now I have an 8 over here. And a 5, 7 here, which makes this a 6. And therefore this is now an 8 by Sudoku, and that's a 5. Now, is this everything we hoped it would be? This 6 is removing itself from that square, and indeed this square. Now we know that this 4 can't go up, so it must come this way. And we know it's at least 4, so it must take those 3, and that disambiguates the nature of that square, because we've got to be going higher, we know that. So this can't be a 2 anymore, which we can already see. That's this 8 is placing an 8 here. That's a 4. That's a 2. Good grief, it is cracking. It's cracking, I think. That 4 is doing the 4 and the 7 in the middle box. Now if I guess we actually know the whole... This has got to come up here because we know it's high digits we're looking for. So this square has got to be a 5, 6 or a 7. We can see by Sudoku we knew that anyway. Oh, you rotten thing. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. How is this getting resolved then? Oh, this 5 is probably doing it. Okay, so we go 6, 7, 5, 6, 7. And this is now a 5. That's a 6. That's a 2. That's a 5. That's an 8. That's a 6. That's a 7. That's an 8. That's a 7. That's a 5. That's a 6, 7, 5. Maybe. Maybe we've done it. Let's check. Yes. Yes, cracking the cryptic, we did it. Oh, goodness me. I'm so sorry about that. There are 2 or 3 points in that where I got completely stuck. I suppose that's the correct word, isn't it? But eventually, I think we found a way through it. It's a very, very challenging puzzle. Interesting that you can sort of start it quite easily, but then after that, it really becomes very challenging indeed. The logic, my sort of logic of the day from the puzzle was the fact that this line couldn't have a 1 as its endpoint, and that disambiguated where the 2 went in box 2. That was absolutely sublime. But there was some very clever other stuff, which, you know, for example, the 1s and 9s in the central box and which direction they were going to push this line into. I mean, what a construction. Imagine how long that must take to set. It beggars belief. And this very much had the feel of Fistemafel to me, you know, and Toolcat, I can't give you a greater compliment than that. It felt like, you know, if you were designing a puzzle with this rule set where you were thinking, let's build between lines, let's make the solver build between lines, you know, you couldn't really do it in a much more elegant way. It was very, very cunning. But there is always the opportunity to miss certain things like this point here. And, well, figuring out this 4 was very difficult for me. I think there was almost certainly a better way of doing that. I just couldn't see what it was. You know, figuring out this L pentomino. I couldn't see why it couldn't be a P like that for forever and a day. But maybe if I got that point more quickly, it would have fallen a bit more swiftly. Fascinating. Anyway, sorry for taking so much of your time. I hope you don't mind. We have had a few relatively shorter videos recently, but this one certainly doesn't fall into that category. And we'll be back later with another edition. Cracking the Cryptic.